Hello everybody. So today we are going to be continuing what we did last time and talking about singing the modes. Okay, so last time we talked about the theoretical background, what the modes are, where they come from, two different systems of solfege for them and such. Today we're going to be spending most of our time reading from our Rogers and Ottman and singing the modes. I've picked out a bunch of examples that outline different modes. I've also finally got a keyboard set up, so we'll see how all that goes, but let's just go ahead and get right on into it. So, in this chapter, Rogers and Ottman gives us kind of two contexts for modes. It's a little limited, but it's a good place to start. So the first context is through folk music all around the world, whether it's American folk music or European folk music or other, just all over the world, okay? And that's basically the first half, actually a little bit more of the chapter. The second type of music is what they deem as composed music. So it was written with notation in mind and was written for more of a what we would consider a classical context. And in this case, you've got a mixture of Renaissance music and some 20th century classical music that's kind of borrowing older modes again. So that's kind of the context of today. At the very end, I'll talk about other places you can kind of branch out into modes. We might get into that next week, perhaps. But this is kind of the repertoire for this week. So the whole sequence up until this point has been Western classical music starting around, let's call it 1750, and we've ended around 1900. Now we're going all the way back. So we're going to spend a couple weeks on modes, and then we're going to push forward into the 20th century in week 3. Okay? So I want to make a note about key signatures that I didn't make in the first video. So key signatures for modes are tricky. Modes do not have a key because they're not tonal. They're not tonic. You could write a piece of modal music that doesn't have a key signature and just uses accidentals, and it would still be considered modal. That's fine. The music you'll see today, and is often common for modal music, will have a key signature of some kind. The thing is there's not really a consistent way that this happens. Sometimes you'll see a key signature where, say, for instance, if it's Aeolian, well, Aeolian would be a natural minor. So in that case, the key signature actually does help you. In a situation like Lydian, you will rarely see the piece in the key that the Lydian's derived from. You'll see it in whatever the major tonic key would be, and then all of your fas are raised. But in other keys, that doesn't work out the same way. So it kind of depends. There's not really a way to do it. And what happens less often than you would think is that modal key signatures aren't always whatever key they're derived from, because especially after the legacy of tonal music, we really try to put everything in context of a center pitch. So that can get tricky. What key signatures do, however, though, is help you decide solmization, help you decide your solfege. So, we talked about two systems last week, where one of them is moving do around relative to what your key is. So if you're singing Dorian, for instance, you would start and end on re. The other system is where every single mode starts on do, and then you just adjust as necessary. So Dorian would start on do, but then you'd have to raise up la, for instance. So the key signatures can kind of give you clues as to how you want to proceed, or how you'll have to adjust your system to sing the music, okay? So here's a review. This is what we did last time. If you don't feel super comfortable in the theory of this yet, I would definitely pause this and go back and check that other video out, because we're going to dive right into it, okay? But here's an overview of the modes. I only put the one system up here. This is the system where we've got movable do to just kind of show you the relationship of the modes to the Ionian mode, to the major key, so to speak. So we don't have any Locrian examples this time. We're actually not going to have any Locrian examples this week, because Locrian is, again, as I mentioned, increasingly difficult to find. I will try to get something for next week, though, because we do have another week with this. But for today, we're going to focus primarily on modes 2 through 6, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and Aeolian, okay? Aeolian is actually not, it's actually a bit weirder than you think, because even though that we've been teaching you natural minor scales for a long time, we haven't really sung natural minor music. There's almost always a T to make it a harmonic kind of tonal push at the end. So, in any case, let's go ahead and move on. So here's our first example. Now, how we're going to do each of these, I've got 5 examples for you, okay? I'm going to show you each one of them, and I would like you to take a look at the piece and try to figure out what mode it is by looking, okay? Then, knowing the mode, then we'll go ahead and actually sing the piece. So, in this case, we start and end on F, which tends to lend that F is a center pitch of some kind. So if we're starting and ending on F, In this case, the key signature is actually helping us out a lot. F in the key of C, which is what we're given, is the fourth mode. It's the fourth scale degree. And if you remember from our chart, the fourth mode is Lydian, which is like a major scale, but we've raised Fa. So in this case, they actually have given you a key signature that works for your mode. Okay, again, this is not how it always goes, it's just how it goes sometimes. So in this case, we've got F. Okay, and I will say before we get too far into this, this is my first time with the keyboard and this setup, so we may have to troubleshoot some things. But in any case, okay, so let's sing F Lydian, please. So it's an F major scale, but raise Fa, okay? Let's do it on half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back down. Raise it. Okay. Okay, and again, hopefully you can hear that wall and there's not any clipping or anything like that. So let's go ahead and try this out. So we've determined that the mode is Lydian. I'm going to put that on the screen for your reference. If you were doing a sight singing, or if you were doing this in your book, you could take notes of where odd solfege is. What could be useful in a situation like this, where there's no key signature, is you could put courtesy accidentals to remind you that those are B naturals, so that way it gets you out of the F major kind of thought. But in any case, let's go ahead and try this. I want to sing through this twice. Okay. We're going to move through these a bit quickly today, because there's a lot of these modes, and there's not a ton of repertoire, so let's just go ahead and move through these as quickly as we can. So here we go. So Lydian, I'm going to play it up here. Okay, so this is your first pitch. Okay, let's go ahead and try to sing this. I'm going to go ahead and play with you. Okay, so go ahead and listen to the piano for pitch. Okay, this first time through, I'm going to play everything with you. Ready? So this is going to be our quarter note. Okay, ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Rest, rest. Rest. 2, 3, rest. Okay, so hopefully that didn't go too bad for you. Again, Lydian, on its surface, is really close, but in a melody like this that really brings out that Fi relationship to Fi Sol, or rather the Ti Do of the relative Ionian. This one aurally is actually trickier than it looks, I think. Again, if you're struggling with this, go ahead and go back to that first video and sing the modes along again, get them in your ear, and then also practice doing those skips that I mentioned at the end, okay? Let's go ahead and move on. Let's do another example now. So this next one, take a look at it. A bit longer, but fairly repetitive. Notice that we start and end on F. That's a good sign. There's no accidentals. We've got some motivic and melodic repetition that seems to reinforce F and C. So it's probably going to be some sort of F-centered mode. And if it's an F-centered mode, we have no accidentals, and the key signature gives us 4 flats. That would imply that this is, in fact, in Aeolian mode. Do we see that? Because it's the same as natural minor, but we never raise any pitches. So it's not a tonal minor, it's a natural minor. It's an Aeolian mode, okay? So this one is not as long as it looks. The first 8 bars kind of conclude it, and then the final 4 bars are just kind of a little tag at the end. And then those first 8 bars are fairly repetitive rhythmically. So let's go ahead. Can we all sing F natural minor, please? Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, good. Take a look at this because there is the 16th notes. So make sure that whatever solfege system that you're using, you can do it fairly quickly. Okay, I want this to be our quarter note. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, ready? Let's try this out. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, keep going. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that one again. I realized for that first one that I forgot to do it a second time, so forgive me. But we'll do this one again. This time without the piano. I will just be conducting for you. So if you need to see the screen, if you want to go ahead and watch, I'll be conducting in the top right. Yeah, this one's got a lot of play between do and te, or rather it would be between, it would be between la and sol, okay, in either solfege system. This one's interesting because it's Aeolian only because it doesn't really have a clear sixth scale degree. Notice that we have no Ds of any kind here. It's kind of a curious submission. So you could argue that this actually could be Dorian as well. We just don't have enough information. So for our purposes, we'll think of it as Aeolian, okay? But this actually could be Dorian in a certain light, especially if we had more information. In any case, let's go ahead and try that again, okay? Here's your first pitch. Go ahead and sing that, please. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. This time I'm going to just conduct. Let's go the same tempo one more time through. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, last 4 measures. Okay, so hopefully you were with me that whole time. Yeah, Alien mode. Alien mode I think is one of the easier ones. Again, orally there's a little bit of trickery there, but we've sung minor, and Aeolian is the closest we have to the minor that we've been used to, especially. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's do another one. Okay, so this one, we've got wonderful, delightful tenor clef. Now, take a look. This one is tricky because we start and end on different pitches. Okay, so I would say when in doubt, rely on the end pitch to help determine what your center pitch is for the mode, what your final is, so to speak. We will take the repeat for this one. Okay, go ahead and take a look at this one. We're in some key signature that has 1 sharp, and we don't have any accidentals, okay? But it's certainly not G major. We start on E, so it could be Aeolian of some kind. But if you look at the end, we end on a B. And that we also end on B in the second measure. So there is some sort of center pitch of B. And if it were B was our first pitch, and we're in the key of G major, that would mean that B would be the 3rd mode, hence this would be Phrygian. Now remember that Phrygian is like natural minor, but with a lowered 2, a flattened 2nd scale degree. So you've got this Ra-Do half step down there, okay? So here we go. If we're assuming B, pardon me. Okay, let's go ahead and sing the B Phrygian mode in half steps. 1, 2, ready, go. Very nice. Okay, let's go ahead and stop there. So, again, you've got that half step from ra to do. That's really the only thing that's particularly tricky about this, okay? So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and give you about 30 seconds. We're going to do this one just one time through. I'll help you out a little bit with the piano, but I might leave you for dead. We'll see. In any case, one time through on this one. Let's try to make it as best as we can. It takes 30 seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. Remember, we're in B, Phrygian. I'm going to put it here. Hopefully it's a better range for you. In any case, go ahead and adjust octaves if need be. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take the repeats. I will play the first time through the repeat with you. I will not play the second time through the repeat with you, but then I will rejoin you for the final 4 measures. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is B. We don't start on B, though. We start on E. There we go. Okay? Pardon me. Okay? We start on E. Ready? Here we go. For real this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now without me. Take the second inning. Okay, so this one's a little weird because it really hovers in the upper part of the scale and really only descends down to its final those 2 times. However, what is nice about this one is that this one is very scalar. So this is perhaps a good one to practice, just kind of get the sound of a Phrygian scale in your ear if you've had a difficulty so far. Especially that ending part. Oh, pardon me. Okay. Prototypical Phrygian, okay? Excellent. Let's go ahead and move on. I've got 2 more quick examples for you. Let's talk about Renaissance music and musica ficta for a second. So the previous 3 examples we've had were from the folk music section of the chapter. The next 2 examples are from the Renaissance and 20th century music section. And I want to talk about what ficta is and what it looks like. So musica ficta is kind of proto-accidentals. I mentioned this last time that eventually composers would start to change pitches as need be. And the way that we represent this modernly, today, I'll just put it that way, is that we'll have a piece that's in a mode, but especially what would happen in the Renaissance is towards the end of phrases, to give more tension and to give more drive to the end, composers would alter what the mode should be to give it more tension, more akin to what we would see in tonal music. So for instance, here's 2 examples. The first one is Mixolydian. Okay, like a major scale with 7. But notice how at the end, it gives us the do-ti-do, so to speak, to give us more of a sense of closure. So for instance, that first example, right? You still have that descending drive of Mixolydian. The piece is still in Mixolydian, but we've got this one moment where it slips out of it. The second example is Dorian. And if you recall, Dorian is like natural minor, where you've got la instead of lay. Okay? You've got la and te. In this case, at the end of this Dorian phrase, whoever this composer is has adjusted it to where now we have a minor second between sol and lay instead of sol and la being a whole step like it should be in Dorian. And then we've also got a C sharp at the end to kind of give us more of a sense of T do. Right? That just sounds like harmonic minor. And that's eventually where it goes to, where it comes from. So the way that we represent ficta is different than accidentals, and ficta as being a Renaissance concept is, as you can see, where the accidentals are above the note. Okay, it's a way to show us that these pieces have not left their mode, but that these specific notes have been fixed. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at an example of this. A little bit long. Okay, Obrecht. Take a look at this. What mode do we think this is in? Okay, we start and end on G, so it's probably going to be a G mode of some kind, and the key signature doesn't give us much. And we've got lots of ficta. Notice what pitches the ficta is always affecting. Hopefully at this point you've come to the conclusion that we are in fact Mixolydian. Okay, so notice how the beginning is just kind of major-y, okay, but then in that fourth measure, we eventually get an F natural. Okay, that's where we get our first kind of flavor of Mixolydian. We also get F naturals in the penultimate measure. Okay, notice that we've got an F natural on the of beat 1. Okay, but we do have some ficta throughout. So for this one, let's go ahead and sing through this together. I'll go ahead and play the pitches for you at the piano so you can match, and then we'll go through a second time and then do this one without me. Okay, the same thing where I'll conduct for you. Ready? So Mixolydian. Hopefully you can hear that okay. Mixolydian in G. So here's G. Ready? Can we sing the Mixolydian scale? Let's do it in quarter notes. I think we can do it. So quarter notes, remember that the top is te instead of T. That's the one change. Ready? Or if you want to sing this in the key of C, if you want to treat this as its appropriate Mixolydian, you'd be starting on sol and ending on sol. Okay? Ready? Ready? 1, 2, quarter notes. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. This will be our quarter note. 1 and 2 and, because we have some pesky 16th notes in here. Okay, so the first half's going to be a little slow, but the second half's going to be more active. Ready? I'm going to play it up here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Rest. Pardon me. Yeah. Lovely Renaissance music. Okay, so hopefully we stayed together and that we were on top of things. Again, the 16th notes, luckily they're scalar, so not too bad. This is a great example of kind of how ficta and Mixolydian kind of overlap, because we've got lots of scalar passages with Mixolydian and then scalar passages with ficta, and we've also got these cadence points with the ficta that looks a lot like cadence points we'd see in tonal music, like, right? That kind of sound. So let's do this again. Same tempo. I will conduct for you this time. I will conduct. You will not be with me. Okay, ready? Okay, can we sing do or sol? Okay. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so hopefully you ended there with me. In any case, it's okay. If you didn't, you can always go back and try again. And as you can see, I've given you, for all these are all screenshots from your book. I've given you also the numbers, so if you want to go ahead and make notes in your book along with this, or if you want to go ahead and save this one for later reference, you can, okay? So let's do one more quick one. One more quick one. This actually isn't as long as it looks, because rhythmically it's very simple. So, we've got some ficta here. Notice that we've got some C sharps. However, don't take too much stock in the C sharps initially, okay? Careful. Take a look at what we start and end on. We start and end on G, okay? Start and end on G. The key given for us is F. So if we start and end on G, and the key given for us is F, and we see an F sharp before the last note at the end, this is probably going to be some kind of Dorian mode, right? So we'll have E naturals, that gives us our La, so to speak, our La in Dorian, or it would be our T, if we're doing this basing everything on Re. The C sharps are kind of interesting because they're just a way to kind of give extra cadence points to the analogous sol pitch, to the analogous dominant. Okay, so that's kind of what this is here. It's almost like a 5 of 5 in a modal context, so to speak. Okay, so Dorian mode. Okay, can we all sing Dorian? Okay, remember it's like natural minor with the raised 6. Ready? 1, 2, half notes. Boy, oh boy. Sorry, everybody. I just played regular natural minor. Here we go. Try that again. That was entirely my fault. I will not make that mistake again. 1, 2, half notes. Back down. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. This one's not too fast, or pardon me, this one's not too rhythmically active. It's got lots of quarter notes and half notes, so let's have this be our quarter note tempo, okay? Now what I want to do for this one is I'm not going to play along with you for a lot of it. I'm going to play the first phrase with you through that first D, okay? Through the first measure, pardon me, that's unclear. Through the first measure of the second staff. So basically through the first phrase, the first cadence point, okay? I will rejoin you at the end in the final measure of the third staff. Do we see that on the A, on Re or Mi, depending on what solfege that you're using, okay? So here we go. I'm going to play the first phrase with you and the last phrase with you. In the middle, try it out, and then we'll go ahead and regroup at the end, okay? So here we go. Okay? I'm going to give us just 2 and we're in, because we come in on beat 3. Ready? 1, 2. Two, 1, 2, go on. Rest. Hold, 2, 3, 4, rest. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of modes. That's all we're going to do for today. We've done a lot so far, but that's basically all the common modes that we have. We only omitted Locrian because it's not common, and Ionian because that's just a major scale, okay? So let's talk about things to do for next time. So, things to practice. Review your theoretical understandings of modes and their solfege. If any of this was confusing for you theoretically, or if your solfege wasn't super up to snuff, that's something that you need to practice. So go back and review the first video or go back and review the examples in this one, okay? You'll also have more opportunity to practice because here's your participation assignment. So if all is well, today is Wednesday morning, April the 1st. I would like sent to my email by Friday, April 3rd at 10 a.m. by the time the next video is posted, these 5, okay? So there's 5 of them. You could perhaps guess what kind of modes they will be from. Send me an MP3, please. It could either be 5 different MP3s or 1 MP3, okay? As long as there's not like a ton of space in between. In addition, Rodgers and Knopman does not tell you what mode pieces are in. I would like you to tell me the mode of the example before you sing it. So for instance, go 20.11 Ionian, okay, for instance. It won't be Ionian, which is why I gave that example. So do that for me, please. In addition, if you are looking for extra practice, once again, not required, for music that isn't Renaissance music, isn't 20th century music, and isn't, you know, but something else, you can listen to modal jazz. So for instance, Miles Davis's incredibly legendarily famous album Kind of Blue is modal, actually. It's modal in a jazz sense, lots of Dorian. In addition, there's lots of pop music with modes, especially Mixolydian. So as you're listening for pop music, try to listen for what modes things are in. It happens a lot more than you'd think. And then in addition, 20.34 to the end is hard for us to do in this context, but the Renaissance and duets and quartets, and some really beautiful stuff, really excellent, wonderful Renaissance counterpoints. So if you want to go ahead and plink at the piano or try to get a friend together over Skype or something, one person and one person isn't too bad to wrangle. You know, try to sing those for each other. The duets are quite wonderful. So with that, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you all so much again. Hopefully this is all going well for you. As always, if you have any questions or if you need extra help, just email me, and I'm happy to help. Next time is going to be entirely dictation. We will be doing melodic dictation of modes. That's the entire next video. So if you're feeling behind, rewatch this one, rewatch the previous one, and next time we'll just be dictating. Okay? So with that, I will see all of you next time.